acceptable. The third option is leverage, is bonding, is public-private partnerships. It's a tool that's frequently used. It was a tool that was used in 1999 with the passage of Terrance, extremely successful. The T-Rex project, I think by most indications, has been a success. That same referendum led to the forelaning of Highway 50 between Grand Junction and Delta, and it made it possible to do that in a much quicker way than as if you had done it on a cash flow basis. So I think the key is to make sure it's a sustainable approach, that you actually have a concrete plan to ensure that you can pay for the obligation over time. It's a proven method, and one that I do think is fiscally conservative and constructive, as long as it's done within those restraints that you can pay the mortgage. Essentially, is the way you have to look.
But the trans bonds, they passed in a fairly good economic time in 1999.
Right.
We're a lot different than.
Yeah. Well, they also were paid on during extremely tough economic times.
But people approved them. People aren't going to approve them now.
Well, I mean that's a conversation for us to have. I mean, I think the politics of it are not lost, isn't lost on anyone. And yet, I also think the public expects their roads and bridges to be fixed and to be safe. And so that's the option. But if you going back to Terrance 1999, we passed Terrance, the voters approved it. It was a borrowing plan. In 2002, we had a precipitous decline in revenue, and still we were able to meet our obligation to Terrance. And I think that goes to your point, Tim, and that is so long as it's structured in a sound and responsible way, so that the state can pay it back in good times and bad, it's an option that we should look at.
If those are COPs, do those have to go to a vote?
COPs do not have to go to a vote the way it's structured when you use public assets, public buildings.
Is that an option, a real option?
As I think you've heard from us, I don't think anybody's drawing bright lines one way or the other at this point.
Let me say one more thing about your question, Tim. You asked how is it fiscally conservative? The way that it's fiscally conservative is normally, when I say normally, for many years, last 6-7 years, construction material costs were going up by an inflationary rate of 10 to 15% a year. So every year that you postpone, the cost to build a bridge, the concrete, the steel, the asphalt, everything is that much more every year you wait. So if you borrow money and you get a lump sum and you start building those bridges in 2009 instead of in 2014, then you're saving money, particularly when the cost of capital is so low. Now, two complexities have changed that in this particular instant of time. Number one, commodity costs have dropped a lot in the last few months because of the economy. And number two, the borrowing capacity has changed somewhat because of the credit squeeze. Both of those are probably going to fix themselves fairly soon. The credit thing has already started to thaw out. And there'll be bonding houses and various, as Josh used the word, public-private partnerships that will line up to be involved in a major infrastructure proposal if we bring it out. And I think that once construction starts again, particularly if the Obama administration pours a lot of money in nationwide for road building and other infrastructure projects, I think you'll see those commodity prices start to go up again. And so the same logic will always be there, that we will save money if we borrow, and the borrowing cost is this much, 3 to 4%, and the inflationary cost of materials is 10 to 15%. We save a lot of money.
Well, what I'm asking is not so much about bonding to save money on inflation. It's tax and spend versus borrow and spend. Isn't tax and spend always more fiscally responsible than borrow and spend? Where you've got an identified revenue stream, and by tax I mean whatever fees, something. I mean, if you're borrowing against the existing revenue stream without an identified revenue stream, is that fiscally responsible?
Well, I don't think we would borrow against a we'd have to have a corpus to do the COPs or to do some type of bonding proposal. You can't just do it without anything. But no, I mean, actually, I think you save a lot more money if you borrow your money that you're going to pay off for a number of years. Then you have a huge bucket of money in this year to start your projects right now, so that your construction costs are going to be 2009 construction costs and 2010 construction costs, because you let those contracts at 2009 prices, rather than if you had this much money coming in each year through, as you say, a fee increase or a gas tax increase, then you're only going to put a little bit of money into those projects every year.
That's pay as you go is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that.
Pay as you go, you don't go. I mean, we're not going to build any highways or bridges if we do pay as you go. We've got to use leverage. Name one office building in downtown Denver that was built with 100% equity. They're always built with 90 or 95% leverage and 5% equity. And that's the way business does it, and that's the way the state of Colorado needs to do it.
But where's the revenue stream to back that up, though?
As these gentlemen have said, we
said we don't want a big tax increase.
we haven't revealed that yet. We're working on that, and we're open to all ideas.
I noticed that in your discussions, none of you mentioned constitutional reform as a priority for this year. Should we assume that after the Select Commission's work last year, that idea is now dead?
That would be an incorrect assumption. There are members of the General Assembly who are still very concerned with constitutional reform, and it's something that has to continue to be on the table. But clearly, Rep. O failed this past year, and so the voters, for one reason or another, decided that wasn't a proper course. So we have a group of legislators, from what I understand now, Representative Court is one person who's interested in this issue. Majority Leader Weissman is also interested in this issue, and they're working on trying to come back with a proposal that could get voter approval. And it's an issue that we're going to have to continue to deal with. And when you have, how many ballot measures did we have this year? 25, 26, something crazy like that. I mean, that's a huge number of initiatives to be on the ballot. And if you were in Denver, and you know that you went through 3.5 pages of ballot measures that you had to get through. So we have to address that. And one of the more important reasons that we need to get a handle on constitutional reform is that we've gotten to a point where we're doing public policy by bumper sticker. And we need to move away from that and really have real deliberative processes in place when we have major initiatives placed before the people to vote on. And it's not fair to the people of the state of Colorado, in all honesty, to place before them complex and technical measures that really haven't had a great deal of thought or discussion in many occasions.
Senator Penry, you sponsored a ballot initiative that would cap the money for water projects through the severance taxes and send it to roads. Are you looking at doing anything legislatively along those lines? And what are the other three do you think about how much money we send to water versus using that money for roads?
Well, first of all, the proposal didn't cap just water projects. It capped the Department of Natural Resources budget in its entirety, allowed it to grow at inflation. I think, without rehashing that whole debate, I think severance tax and the growth in severance tax revenue is a revenue stream that's okay, and one that is has a logical nexus to critical road and infrastructure needs. Whether it's part of the final package, I think remains to be seen, but I think it's something that makes sense on a first blush basis and one that's part of our conversation.
Some of the things you've been talking about, especially healthcare and transportation, have hinged on what the new president might do. To what extent do you think that might hamstring legislature as you wait for some sort of direction or funding or national fund on those issues?
I think we do have to have somewhat of a wait-and-see attitude for some of the big picture proposals that are bandied around like single payer, because single payer is one of those issues that is somewhat